On the other end of our line, I don't mean to make this juxtaposition for any purpose except that timing is everything. We talk about dinosaurs, and then we bring in Congressman Thaddeus McCotter. Good morning. Merry Christmas to you.
I appreciate that fine segue, Frank, because you brought me on to remind you that Michigan State Fossil is the mastodon who serves as a constant reminder of the dinosaur legislators' failure to pass responsible legislation to stop global cooling.
Amen to that. I think we need more ice on this planet, don't you? We need to create more frigid Arctic conditions around the world.
Well, there's enough ice at the Joe, and there's enough frigid Arctic conditions in Washington right now.
I was going to say, there seem to be plenty going around the Capitol these days. The president's press conference yesterday, it left out one or two things, didn't it? It said you're robbing people out of a $1,000 tax break that they're going to get. By my count, this 2-month extension of the payroll tax cut is worth about $160, not $1,000. Wasn't it the House bill that would have saved $1,000?
Well, you're absolutely right, Frank. The House has consistently, both in a bipartisan way, has consistently supported a 1-year payroll tax extension. And we've also supported unemployment insurance for those who are trying to find work in this difficult economy, as well as a pipeline project to help spur economic growth, one that is based in the private sector and is sustainable and creates energy for which will further relieve consumer costs down the road. And what we're really debating is, if you want to look at it in terms of simply what we passed, the House wants to give you those things for 12 months, and the Senate wants to vote for 2, which means that at the end of their bill, you will lose $800 of any, you'll get about $800 less than you would have under the House plan.
Now, read the tea leaves for me. What's the strategy here?
Well, I think the real question is that does Senator Reid want to play politics or get the job done? The House has appointed conferees. We're waiting for the other chamber to follow suit. And in the final analysis, Frank, to me, look, my wife's a nurse. She's going to be working Christmas Day. You're going to have people all across America working. They'd rather be with their families. We have, God bless them, our troops across the world doing their duty on Christmas Day. I think the Congress should be here doing the job that is necessary until it's done so that people know what they're getting when they go into the next year.
What is his political advantage, though? I mean, because people lump Republicans and Democrats together, don't they, when they begin rating whether you're doing your job?
Well, look, in all candor, look, the House Republicans and the House Senate Republicans clearly there was some disconnect here on this. And I think that Senator Reid and probably President Obama believes they have a winning hand on this. Although, again, I point out the House bill was for a year, which was the president wanted, although he would accept the 2 months. In the final analysis, if he thinks he's got a winning hand, Senator Reid's going to play politics with this. And so all their calls for caring about working people and certainty and what people are going to get in the next year in terms of our economy is going out the window because, I mean, look, you have to do the job. We knew January 1st was a deadline, and it has to get done. And to kick the can down the road not only makes it impossible almost to implement in terms of recording the payroll tax reductions, it's going to destroy the very tenuous logic of the payroll tax holiday in the first place, which is it creates jobs and allows people to spend money. Because if you take a short-term gimmick and cut it down even further, you've created a scam. No one's going to go around spending 2 months' worth of payroll tax. No employer is going to hire on it, and especially when they know that come February, we'll be right back doing the same thing we are now.
And is that the object, to keep this as a continuing battle that leads up to toward November next year and the election?
Well, you have to assume so because, look, inherently, to pass a 2-month extension shows you that the policy you're passing is not suitable to be enacted on a permanent basis. Is that not correct?
I would think.
So why would you not come back and find a permanent solution to this issue? Why would you muddle through for 2 months with something you know is not sufficient for a year?
And if it's not if it's good for 2 months, why shouldn't it be good for a year? I mean, the logic seems sound right there.
Yes, and it's frustrating a lot of people. A lot of people are very concerned about it, as you rightly pointed out. They're very upset that Republicans and Democrats can't agree. I would argue that it's very difficult for them to agree when they've all gone home.
True enough. But the other part of this, I don't think most Americans, and I hate to speak for most Americans, and I don't mean to, but when I listen to the people on our show, when we have conversations about this sort of thing, open line, when I talk to people that I know, just, friends and family, they don't just get mad at a party, at the Democrats for doing this, or Republicans. They get mad at Congress as a whole for saying, quit with the political games already, no matter which side you're on. Get things done for the country, for all of us. We're not going to make a decision to vote for you or this president or this GOP candidate because of the tax cut bill. Do things that make sense for America overall. Show us you're working for us.
Well, I think that's absolutely right, and that's the approach that you have to take. So I'm still here. Of course, I'll be coming home at some point since there's no one to legislate with at this point in time. But the reality is, if they're not willing to do that, if they're not willing to put forth the effort to meet this deadline, knowing that it's been there, the public has every right to blame both parties, because it is a collective sense the failure of those who are serving at the present time that refuse to come together to do it. Now, there are a lot of good men and women across both sides of the aisles that want to be here, want to be working on it, but unfortunately, we can't do that unless conferees are appointed. And again, our colleagues like Dave Camp and Fred Upton, who are on the conference committee, are here as well, ready to get to work and get this done by the end of the year.
Are they going to be staying in Washington?
I believe so.
So they're going to sit there right through Christmas if it comes to that? I would hope they go home.
Yeah, I suggest you have them on, because I know that Dave and Fred, like the rest of us in the delegation, want to stay here and get it done. I mean, maybe because we come from Michigan, we understand that this has to get done, and it has to get done for a one-year basis, so that there's certainty there. We can continue to start to try to get out of the economic stagnation which we in Michigan have been in so long. And to simply say that because the holidays are here, look, if you know what you sign up for. You know you may have to work holidays. And again, it's like my wife Rita. She's a nurse. She knows that there'll be holidays she has to work, and she does it. There's sick people that have to be tended to. Well, we have a sick economy. It has to be tended to through appropriate legislation that allows the American people to grow us back to prosperity. And our duty is to stay here and get it done until it happens.
Yeah, by the way, we were hoping to get Dave Camp on this morning, but he's been in meetings all morning, so we're hoping for tomorrow. And I hope he doesn't stay in. I mean, look, at some point you see the Senate's not coming back, and they're not going to confer with you on this legislation. And maybe they figure they'll wait till Monday, right after Christmas.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right, and that's again why I'm going to wind up going back today, so at least one parent is home on Christmas with the kids.
Well, that's how it should be, and I wish Rita didn't have to work, but I've been there with the nurse and the family, and I know what you're saying, and they take that responsibility very seriously too. And God bless them, we have people like that who are willing to work on Christmas and tend to others out of the goodness of their heart.
And they deserve 1 year's worth of tax relief, and they deserve 1 year's worth of unemployment insurance if they can't find work, and they deserve a pipeline project that'll help grow the economy, and they deserve it for a year. And they deserve less government in the process, one that doing those things does not increase the debt and deficit.
Yeah. There's one other point. It's sort of a personal thing that this question pops up in my mind every time I hear the story, and it's always written the same way nationally. Whenever or Congress is considering an extension of unemployment benefits, and the story is written this way. 1 million people will see their unemployment benefits come to an end unless we pass this legislation. Well, at some point, those unemployment benefits should come to an end, shouldn't they?
Well, one of the things that the House Republicans do that I'm glad you brought that up, this game pointed out, is to help reform it so that unemployment does not incentivize continuation. What it does is it reflects those very men and women that are trying so hard to find work and offers them abilities to try to make that more possible through the conditions that are put in for continued assistance. And these are the types of things, again, that if Senator Reid actually wanted to sit down and talk about it, I think that I would hope they would find them very reasonable, very helpful for the American public right now. But again, it's the Senate that refuses to discuss this. It's the Senate that refuses to do anything except kick the can down the road past January 1st. And if that remains their position and they play politics with it, well, I think that in the end the American people will know who wanted to give them a full year's worth of good legislation and who didn't.
Is the only difference that they wanted 2 months and you passed a bill that you sent over there? Harry Reid said it was dead on arrival, by the way.
No,
for a year. There were a couple other differences too, weren't there?
No, Harry Reid and the Democrats' first goal is to protect big government. So they use the logic that somehow letting you keep your money costs government, that it has to be paid for by what? More of your money. This isn't a socialist dystopia. Government refraining from taking your money is not has to be paid for. That's ridiculous. What has to happen is government has to budget, make priorities, and it has to reduce its own spending habits so that when it doesn't take your money, it doesn't wind up loading you with debt and deficits through bad legislation. Senator Reid wants to protect big government. They want more fees on things. They want to keep the revenue coming into their big government model, and it's not going to work in the 21st century. So the dinosaurs, to bring this to closure, in the Senate are still focused on propping up Lyndon Johnson's welfare state, which everybody knows is non-sustainable. Just ask the Greeks.
See, I think you could do a show like this because you understand how to tie those things together like that. That was very, very clever of you.
Well, this is George Sorosauruses or whatever you were talking about piqued my interest.
All right, now as a former presidential candidate, and with the Iowa vote coming up in less than 2 weeks now, tell me what you make of all this, the negative ads that have just apparently become rampant there. Newt Gingrich has gotten to the point where he's accusing the Romney campaign of smearing him. Romney says, not me, I can't do anything about those PACs, and I can't say anything. Give me your assessment of what's going on.
Well, again, full disclosure, I'm a Romney supporter.
I know you are, but try to give me an un-Romney tinted view on this.
Oh, well, it's a primary. And it's for the highest stakes to help govern America in the 21st century through difficult times. So you're going to see what happens in any primary, magnified on the national stage where everybody watches. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm firmly convinced that no matter what happens in terms of the politics that is played on the way to the nomination, is that the Republican Party is going to be very united behind whoever our candidate is. Again, I hope it's Mr. Romney. And we're going to go into the fall with a better vision for America than the Democrats have. But what you're going to watch now is just... This happens in primaries across the country at all different levels, both Republican and Democrat. It's just you're seeing it at the national stage where everyone's watching it with acute interest. How do
you interpret what's happened with Ron Paul in Iowa and his seeming charge to the top of the polls right now?
Well, I think in some ways you've seen the protest vote or the anti-Romney vote, as some call it, always looking for a place to go. And it was with Mr. Gingrich for the past couple of weeks, and now I think there may be some of the advertising from both camps, including Ron Paul's, are causing a bit of fall off from there, and so they go with Ron. I think that in many ways that's what you're seeing in Iowa. Plus, my understanding is Speaker Gingrich does not have the type of, certainly does not have the type of grassroots organization Ron does. So that if you're dissatisfied and you don't think that maybe Mr. Gingrich will make it or his organization isn't there, Ron makes perfect sense to a lot of people.
I understand. What do you think the election campaign is going to look like come next November? How nasty is this going to get?
We have a very divided public in terms of which way they think we should go. And when you have a period of time like that, it's very difficult to find people who can somehow unite them. And as we've seen from both the president and in many ways the Republican primary, is that we're still in the process of trying to get our own bases together. The president's doing that on the Dem side. Our people are trying to do that on the other side. And that's the first test. And it's going to depend on whether or not somebody can appeal across the partisan divide. I think that in the end, Mr. Romney can, which is a large reason I'm supporting him. But that's why it's a representative government. There's huge issues out there, and the public has very deeply divided ideas of how to go forward, and those just manifest themselves. And it is very rare that you find people who can get common ground to bring enough people in the center together to move it forward.
I appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us. Please tell Rita thank you again for working on Christmas, and I know that'll make the time you do get to spend together during the holidays that much sweeter for you. Have a very, very Merry Christmas, Congressman McCotter. Always good to have you on the show.
Same to you and yours, Frank. Thank you.
Take care now. Congressman Thaddeus McCotter.